You just like shove this fetus in the ground.
Yeah.
To a checkpoint.
Feed me. Welcome back to another episode of Action Lag. I am your host, Neil Hopkins. Beside me here is a good friend of mine, also our host.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to do a different episode today. We've been talking about a lot of television, a lot of movies, but we have to get into the gaming space. And what's a good game that came out recently? It's not as poppin' as it should be, you know, it's late November, but this game came out a little bit earlier in October, and we've been obsessed with it. It is known as Lords of the Fallen. Now, you guys might remember this game because it came out in 2018 first, and then this is now a sequel, kind of a reboot almost, of the original game, right? And it plays like Souls games, right? That's what we're here to talk about.
It's a Souls-like, for sure.
We are definitely playing a brand new Souls game. So, Shane, why don't you give us a rundown of what this game's about?
Okay, so Lords of the Fallen is the basic, synopsis of the plot is a fallen god named Adir. He used to basically rule the world for eons until humanity finally fought back and rid the world of him. His presence still lingers, and he's raising like a demonic undead army from the darkness or the shadows, if you will.
Yeah, the Umbral Blade.
Yes, and in fear of his return, humanity has these heroes called lamp bearers that, quote-unquote, shun the light to fight the darkness. And you play as one of these lamp bearers in the game. And during character creation, there's 9 starting classes, or 10 if you pre-ordered the game, and 4 unlockable classes. There's 2 different worlds that you fight through as a lamp bearer. One's called the Axiom, which is the regular world of the living, and the Umbral Plane, which is the world of the undead. And the main goal of the game is cleansing evil and revitalizing the 5 beacons of the Sentinel, which are what shackles Adir in order to thwart his return.
You know, honestly, in Souls-like fashion, if you're not paying attention to any of the cutscenes like me, see, I just run through this stuff without even paying attention. I had no idea what the hell I was doing other than running around clearing enemies and killing bosses, which is typical Souls-like, right? But this one's full of a lot of cutscenes, right? There's a lot more cutscenes in this game than you would see in like Elden Ring or
like right before a big boss fight. They always have a cutscene. It's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, dude. Like what's the enemy? The light stealer or whatever. He's kind of like he comes after lamp bearers.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty dope.
Yeah, he's the this ain't really a spoiler. You see it in the very beginning. It's that giant dude on that dragon or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like anti-lamp bearer.
Yeah, he comes multiple times in the game, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's pretty fucking cool.
So, you said there was a bunch of classes. Which class did you pick?
Well, for starters, a little rundown of them is one's the Hollowed Knight, which kind of has like a sword and shield.
Mm-hmm. That was my class, for sure.
You have your Uda Ranger, I think that's how it's pronounced. Uda Ranger Warwolf. They use 2-handed swords.
Big, heavy strength build.
Yeah, there's the Partisan, which uses a shield and a flail. There's the Mornstead Infantry, which is like your spearmen.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Black Feather Ranger, which is what I'm playing as, and it's basically like Legolas from Lord of the Rings. You use a bow and like melee weapons.
Yeah, dex build, right?
Then you have your Exiled Stalker, which is like a rogue. They use daggers. You have an Orion Preacher, which is kind of like a priest that uses radiant magic.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the Pirate Cultist, which is like a mage. And there's the Condemned, which is a very basic character with like mid to low stats all across the board.
Yeah, that's your speed run.
Yeah,
one.
I'm guessing that's to play the game as like a hard mode. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is a Souls game to begin with, so the game's already on hard mode. But if you want to make it that much more difficult, you can play with no like specific build off the rip. Like each class is based off of a type of build that you're going to build, right? And the Condemned is just 9s across the board. It's
right,
just
right.
at jack of all trades, you can dump whatever skills you want
Not
into
super
it.
good at anything in particular, like you said. Just
Yeah.
kind of, like I said, mid to low stats across the board. You can kind of do whatever build you want. You
Yeah.
shape the character as you want, basically.
It's the
But
hardest
starting
way to
out,
play
yeah,
the game.
starting out, it's a lot harder. So
I mean, the game is difficult as it is just because it's a Souls-like, right? So these games are already unforgiving, but just take another step farther.
right.
You want to just, keep eating that shit sandwich. You want to pick the Condemned for sure.
Yeah, I really am interested in seeing like looking up some builds people are doing with the Condemned character, because I have no idea like what you would even do with it, so I'm curious.
You could do whatever you wanted. It's
that's what
just
I'm saying. Like, it'd be nice
it's
to
a
see
speed
someone do
run.
it.
It's usually used for like speed runs.
Right.
Like just to make it harder, we do it with a Condemned speed run, any percent, right? So I was watching here. This is crazy, dude. This game has been beaten so quickly by these Soulsborne speedrun streamers. They have figured out how to beat the game in less than an hour.
That's crazy.
Isn't that nuts? It took me 20 hours just to beat the game for the first time. And I had some trouble, man. Like, some bosses were tough.
Yeah, there's definitely some hard parts, some annoying parts. Some parts are easy. Like the very first boss fight, you get the that guy to help you. That's nice, especially for someone like me who's not really much of a Souls-like enjoyer.
Yeah, so summons are pretty standard now in the Souls games.
Yeah, the
But
summons.
this one you have multiple summons. Like the more people that you make allies, and you more lamp bearers that you find, later on you can like pick which summon you want to use at certain bosses,
Right.
which makes the game really easily depending on like what builds you have. So like if you need like a strength guy while you stand back and shoot magic, and we do damage that way, you can do that. Or if you need a magic guy while you run in, that you can pick vice versa, which is really dope. Like, you don't get that in Elden Ring. Usually you only get one specific guy to summon, but in this one they give you options.
I do want to touch on the unlockable classes as well. They sound really cool.
Yeah.
There's the Dark Crusader, which is
that's the one.
I'm guessing is like an unholy paladin.
Pretty
in a
much,
way.
he's the guy on the cover.
Right. Yeah.
He's the dude on the cover.
The class that I think sounds the coolest out of any of them, starting or unlockable, is the Lord. And
Yeah.
the Lord is a melee and magic user, and as I like to call them in games, I call them battle mages.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you use like a sword and you can cast magic and shit. I think that sounds really cool. The Lord class reminds me of like what a Witcher would be like. You know what I mean? That's what I think of when I see the Lord class.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The third one is the Putrid Child, and they utilize umbral magic.
Oh yeah, the evil dead magic. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Radiant Purifier, which also sounds pretty cool. It's a polearm user that uses radiant magic.
Yeah, I did a
That one sounds
Radiance
cool.
build my first playthrough of this game. So
Yeah,
I
which
played.
which class did you pick?
I did Hallowed Knight off the rip. I like doing like basic strength builds my first playthrough in a Souls game, and then I come back with like my second playthrough is when I get really weird with it. But my first playthrough was with a Hallowed Knight. He was a strength build. I made him really strong, and then I started buffing up his Radiance so he can like and do Radiant magic to his sword. So like an old school like D&D Paladin with Smite,
Right.
almost. And yeah, he hits hard, and then the damage just keeps going up because of the Radiance. So that was my first build, and it was tough. I'm not gonna lie, it was a tough build because it doesn't you're two-handing a sword, a lot of dodging, not so much parrying and blocking. It's more like a dodge kind of build.
Yeah, I've like I said earlier, I did the Black Feather Ranger, and using the bow. That's the only class I think that starts with a bow. Yeah, the bow kind of makes it easy mode at some points. If you have a pretty tough enemy, you kind of could just keep dodging away and shoot them with the bow. Or if they're not even on you yet, you can just stand from far back, shoot like 4 or 5 arrows in them before they even get to
Yeah,
you.
cheese them a little
Yeah.
bit.
It's pretty nice. That's another reason why I picked the class is because, like I said before, I've never really been into Souls-likes. This is kind of like my, popping my cherry on them.
Yeah.
And I've tried Dark Souls 2, I think it was, years ago. And that was when I figured out, all these kinds of games aren't for me.
Well, I would
But
say
one
that this game is pretty similar.
Cool. Yeah, this game looked pretty cool with the 2 different planes. I thought that sounded neat, so I gave it a try. And this game has definitely opened my eyes to Souls-likes again.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I think it's pretty cool.
Do you think you'll pick up some Souls games later on? Or are you going to try anything else out because of this?
I mean, I might try one that's already been out. It came out years ago, and I think they have a sequel for it too. The Bloodborne game.
Oh yeah, Bloodborne. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's PS4 PlayStation exclusive. They haven't released it on PC yet, unfortunately.
Dang.
But if you got a PS4, yeah, pick that game up. It's dope.
Yeah, if they ever release it to PC, I'll definitely try that one because I think that's why I didn't try it before, is because it was PlayStation exclusive. Now that I'm thinking about it, but yeah, that's kind of like how I feel about Lords of the Fallen. Was how I felt with Bloodborne.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought it looked cool enough for
Cool
me to try a
universe,
Souls-like
yeah.
again. Yeah, so
Well,
if it
I'll
ever
tell
comes
you
out,
one.
I'll try that one.
I'll tell you one that's very similar to Bloodborne that you can play now, which is Lies of P, which is another game that literally just came out the same time as Lords of the Fallen. I think it came out a month before Lords did, and it's just as good. But today we're talking about Lords, obviously. But if you want to check another one out that's similar to Bloodborne, definitely check out Lies of P.
Where do they get the title from?
Lies of P. It's about Pinocchio, and it takes place in like a
It's a Souls-like Pinocchio.
Yeah. So it takes place in like a cyberpunk version of Germany that's in the future called Kraus. And
You don't
Geppetto
play as
makes
Pinocchio, do
yeah,
you?
you play as Pinocchio and you kill other puppets that Geppetto made. It's a really good story, dude. Check that out.
Does he like grow his nose and like break it off and turn it into weapons?
No, but he does lie, and his nose does grow, like in a way.
But you can't like utilize that like in your gameplay.
No,
There's no like practical use to it.
no,
Oh
not really.
man, they dropped the ball there.
Yeah, snap his own nose off and then hit you with it.
Yeah, just tell a quick lie and then snap his nose off and like shoot it through a bow or something.
Right.
That'd be sick. But yeah, how was your
But we're talking about Lords of the Fallen
Yes,
today,
yeah.
so
Back
we'll
to
jump
Lords.
back.
How
Yeah,
was
we got a
your,
little off.
how was your experience like as a Hollow Knight? Like, do you wish you would have picked a different class starting out? Or?
No, not at all. It's exactly what I expected it to be. You know, a lot of melee. You do get a shield off the rip, so it helps you practice your parry timing and all of that. So yeah, it's standard, man. Like that's usually how I run a first Soulsborne first playthrough is always strength build. I always go strength. Then we get into like the magic and the dexterity, bleed, that kind of stuff. But I enjoyed the Hollow Knight strength build. That's the way to go. I recommend if it's your first playthrough, check it out.
So you're saying like if you made another class, you'd do mage probably?
Oh yeah, well, paladin, mage, I would definitely do something like that.
I almost picked the pirate cultist.
Yeah,
I almost picked that one. It looked really cool.
that would have been a good one.
Yeah, the like starting mage class.
Yeah, so let's talk about the world in this, like the big gimmick of this game, right?
Yes,
Which
using
is
your lamp to switch from the Axiom, which is the world of the living, and you can, on command, switch to the umbral plane whenever you want.
Yeah, or
But-
you could peek into the umbral plane
Yes,
from
yeah,
the
that's cool,
Axiom.
too.
Like you get a little light and look into the umbral plane and see if the landscape changes, because you'll be constantly switching from Axiom to the umbral plane to progress farther down, like levels. Certain areas that can only be accessed in the umbral plane, or vice versa. So it's really cool that we have the ability to switch to and fro from these planes of existence.
Yeah, the whole 2 planes thing with the lamp and all that, that's definitely the coolest part of the game, I think. Like you said, the fact that you can like just hold your lamp up and shine the light, and wherever
Mm-hmm.
you shine the light, it shows what the world would look like in that spot in the Umbral Plane.
What's even cooler,
So
right?
cool.
So, like, you'll see enemies in the Umbral Plane, too, and if you're not careful and you're shining your light too much and they run up on you, they can drag you into the Umbral
Yes.
Plane if
Yeah,
you're
if, you,
not
if you're
careful.
shining the light on them and they see you, you need to let your lamp back down, or else if you keep holding it on them, they will come and attack you, and then as soon as they hit you, it takes you to the Umbral Plane.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I love that gimmick in this game. Like, it really makes the game like stand out on its own versus just being another, it's not Dark Souls knockoff. This one like really brings it into its own kind of path. I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool aspect of the game was that whole lantern thing. And I also like that you have a constant, like, direct antagonist fighting against you, which is, like you said earlier, that, like, light stealer guy that's are flying around on that dragon.
Yeah.
I like that, like, they leave little bits and pieces throughout the game of, like, showing you other lamp bearers he's killed.
Well, yeah. I mean,
It's
you're
really cool.
you're seeing all of the checkpoints are like previous lamp bearers that did
Yeah.
not make it to the beacons or to the final objective,
Right.
which makes it really cool. Another little piece of lore that you see physically in the actual world. And another cool thing that I think is really dope about this is that not you might have some trouble getting from checkpoint to checkpoint. That's really a big problem. Sometimes there's always these like really hard areas that like you die a lot, but you have the ability to drop a temporary checkpoint and like middle parts or like really hard parts, so you can like respawn there and not have to restart completely all the way back, which I think is a really cool thing
Yeah,
to
that little
have.
the little seed thing that you're talking about.
Yeah, the vestige seeds.
Yeah, those are awesome. I like the image like sprite that they used for it too.
Yeah,
The
it's like a
little like fetus thing.
Yeah.
It's creepy looking.
Feed me.
You just like shove this fetus in the ground and it grows into
It grows into a giant like white body thing. Yeah,
So funny.
very dark, man. Very Dark Souls.
But yeah, I will say my experience as the ranger, there is definite upsides to it. Like I said before, the bow.
Mm-hmm.
I really like having the bow starting out. But I think probably my biggest downside to the class, which kind of makes me wish I'd started with a mage instead of the ranger, is that you have limited ammunition for your bow. And
Well, that's with everything.
I'll explain that though. So I understand that there's stronger ammunition in the game, like there's like fire arrows and stuff like that. I understand the stronger ammunition having a limited amount, but I think the class should have unlimited of the base, shitty arrows in the game, which are called oak arrows. And I think that would make it way more fun with that class. Like the fact that you only start out with, I think it's like 8 arrows or something like that.
Yeah.
You can increase your arrow capacity by raising your vitality and endurance for some reason. I think it should be agility, but for some reason when you raise your vitality and endurance, it raises your max arrows. But that's still pretty lame in my opinion. Like, please give unlimited oak arrows, the base weakest arrow. Like that would be so much better.
There's a boss in the game that uses a bow and arrow. I didn't check to see if she gives you like a great bow after you kill her. I assume she does. It's this chick called the Huntress, or like the Hounds or Huntress or something. Like she's got like a lot of hounds and she shoots a bow. But it's a pretty dope little bow build to check out.
Right. What would you consider are your like pros and cons of the game?
Okay, so I would say that, like, let me just say this from a guy who's played a lot of these. This game, it is very cool with the new concepts that it's doing, but it kind of lacks in fluidity when coming into the fighting. It feels a little weird. Feels a little like you have to commit to your animations. It plays similar to, like, Dark Souls 2, which is kind of like the redheaded stepchild of the franchise of all Dark Souls, which is, it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that. Wherever it's new and creative, it does really good. But like, I feel like the combat could have been just a little bit tighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I felt that.
Like, sometimes it feels like there's no weight to certain things. Your character runs like ridiculously fast, and I just feel like it could have been a little. It feels like it could have been a little heavier, the combat. You know, I don't know how to explain it better than that. Like, the combat feels floaty almost.
Yeah, that's what I would say as well. Is the combat? It felt like there was a couple clunky parts of combat. Like, there were some smooth parts and there were some clunky parts. There is one clunky part that I would say is a big con for me, and it's, I've noticed you can get stuck between an enemy and a wall, and you can't dive out of it, and the enemy will stay on top of you. It happened to me. It was during the second boss fight, I think. I was stuck between the boss and a wall, and it wouldn't let me dive left, dive right. It wouldn't let me dive through them, like nothing. Like, I was just stuck, and they just beat the shit out of me, and I would die. And,
yeah, man.
So I felt like I constantly had to avoid walls as well because of that.
You got to definitely be careful of where you are located in the boss ring for sure. I had a lot of fun with the game. I got screwed a couple times. I did rage. That's pretty normal.
I did rage.
It's pretty normal to have that happen, but I would say overall I liked the world. I thought the world was cool. I would definitely play another one of these if they made a sequel to this. I want to see where it goes on. I didn't really follow the story as good as I should have, but that's standard Dark Souls. This game does take a lot more time to try to explain what's going on than the other games, but I still, it just went right over my head. So I'm going to definitely pay more attention on my second playthrough of trying to like piece together the whole story.
Yeah, I have a couple other cons too. One of them is I've noticed that early game, at least, the gear upgrades are very slow and limited. Like, you don't really get many upgrades early on. Like, I would like a more of a feeling of like progression item wise.
You do later on. You do get your blacksmith, but you're right. It does take a minute to get to the blacksmith. You're like almost three large bosses deep. Like, it takes you a minute to get being able to upgrade your equipment and your weapons.
While playing the ranger, I was curious. When do I get a bow upgrade? So I did some research, watched some videos, and this guy said that you don't really get a bow upgrade until, like you said, multiple boss fights in. So I just gotta keep using the same starting bow for so long. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you gotta commit to a hard play style until it starts to pay off.
Right. And another con for me, you were actually watching me when it happened, but the game by default is in multiplayer mode, and
you got invaded, right?
I don't like that at all. Yeah, I got invaded by some dude, and he killed me. And I'm not, like I said before, I'm not really a Souls-like player, and this guy just invades me while I'm trying to enjoy the game and play through the story and learn the game, and I didn't even know it was on. So I think by default it should be turned off, and if you want to turn it on, you can turn it on. That was pretty lame.
Yeah, and by the way, this game is co-op. You can play this game. The only problem is like whoever joins the host, they are not going to progress story-wise, any way-wise. You're just a follower. You're helping whoever you're playing with out.
Right, and then you go back to your own game, and
then
still
you go back
the
to your
same
own
spot.
game. Yeah. So that is something to probably change in this game to make it a little bit more fun for being able to do co-op, for sure. Give us something, maybe some points, maybe half the amount of souls that you would normally get. I don't know, just something.
So what would
I would give this game, if I had to rate this game as of right now, I would say this game is like a 7, 7.5. It's strong. It's solid. It's a pretty good game, right? Very good. There are some things that could be changed to make it better. Maybe some DLC will come out. But as of right now, I'm giving this game a 7.5.
7.5.
Yeah.
We have very different takes on it. Usually,
what would you give it?
Yeah, our first few episodes we had similar ratings.
Oh, yeah?
I think I'm giving it this rating because, like I said, I'm usually not a Souls-like enjoyer, but I did enjoy this one.
Mm-hmm.
And for that reason, I'm going to give it a 9.
Oh, shit. You like it that much, huh? Fair enough.
I give it a 9 out of 10 because, like, I'll be honest, at first I wasn't super excited to play it. Like, I mean, I was excited to play it because, you know, I seen it advertised before it even came out, and I was like, oh, that game looks cool. It's I see it's a Souls-like, but I'll probably give it a try. It looks different.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have my usual excitement for a new game coming out whenever I first started playing it. But as I got into it, it felt, you know, like I said, it's a little different than other Souls-likes with the 2 planes and all that, and I think that concept is really cool. And the fact that it, you know, is opening my eyes to Souls-likes more because I enjoyed it. Yeah, I'll give it a 9. I thought it was pretty good, man.
Damn, dude, that's a good score, man. I bet they'll like to hear that. So, that was our Lords of the Fallen episode, ladies and gentlemen. Please check us out on our Discord, Action Lag Discord. Check us out on our TikTok. Check us out on YouTube. We have pretty much almost any platform that we get our hands on. We have it.
Discord link will always be in our YouTube. Just go to our YouTube channel and it'll be there pasted. Join anytime. And we will see you in the next episode, episode 5. It's going to be Five Nights at Freddy's, episode 5.
All right, man. Let's see y'all guys.
Later.
Peace.